There is a question that most people never ask themselves, not because they don't care, but because the answer is too uncomfortable. The question is this: if everything was taken from you, what would you build? No money, no school, no electricity. No food, no one coming to help. Just you, just your mind, just the broken things around you. Most people would wait. Most people would hope. Most people would look at the empty sky and say, there is nothing I can do. But one boy in a small village in the country of Malawi in Africa did something different. He looked at the same empty sky, and he saw wind. His name was William Kamkwamba. He was 14 years old. His family was starving, and he was about to change everything. The year was 2001. Malawi was in the middle of one of the worst famines it had ever seen. The rains had failed. The maize crop had died. Families across the country were eating one small meal a day. Some were eating nothing at all. William Kamkwamba lived in a village called Windmill. His father, Trywell, was a farmer, but that year, the farm had given them almost nothing. The family sold most of what they owned just to buy a little food. There were days when the children went to sleep with nothing in their stomachs. And then William's school fees ran out. He had to stop going to school, not because he wanted to, but because there was no money left. He was 14 years old and his education was over. Most boys in that situation would have given up. They would have accepted the life that poverty had written for them. William was not like most boys. He could not go to school anymore, but he could still go to the library. The local library was a small room with a few shelves and very few books. But among those books was one that stopped William completely. It was an American textbook called Using Energy. On the cover was a photograph of a windmill. William could not read all the words. His English was not strong enough yet, but he looked at the diagrams. He looked at the pictures, and inside his chest something woke up. He thought, wind is free. We have wind every day here. If a windmill can make electricity, and electricity can pump water and water can save a crop, then a windmill can feed my family. He thought this very carefully, and then he decided to build one. Think about the wind for a moment. The wind does not cost anything. It asks for no payment. It does not check your school results or your bank account. It blows over rich villages and poor villages exactly the same way. The wind is equal. The only difference between a person who uses the wind and a person who does not is this. One person looks at the wind and sees energy. The other person just feels it on their face and walks on. William looked at the wind and saw energy, and that single shift in thinking, that one small change in the way he looked at something everyone else ignored, was the beginning of everything. Your biggest resource is never outside you. It is always inside. It is the way you look at what already exists. The wind was always there. William was the first one to truly see it. William went to the junkyard at the back of the village. It was a pile of broken and discarded things. Old bicycle frames, pieces of pipe, broken fan blades, tractor parts that no longer worked. He started collecting. People watched him carry junk home, and they did not know what to think. His friend Gilbert walked with him sometimes and asked what he was doing. William told him. Gilbert listened carefully, and then said something that William never forgot. He said, "I believe you." That was all William needed. One person who believed. He had no proper tools. He bent metal with his hands and with rocks. He used a nail as a screwdriver. He used plastic pipe from a broken well pump. He climbed a blue gum tree and tied the whole structure together at the top. It was rough. It was crooked in places. It did not look like the windmill in the book. But when the wind blew, the blades moved. And when the blades moved, a small car battery began to charge. And when the battery was charged, William walked into his family's dark hut, connected a small wire, and turned on a light. His mother looked at the light on the ceiling. She had never seen electric light inside her own home. She did not say anything for a long time. Then she said, "You have done it, William." News spread through the village quickly. People who had laughed at him came to see. Then journalists came. Then the story reached the internet. A man from TED saw the story and contacted William. Would he like to speak at a TED conference? William had never been on a plane. He had never left Malawi. He had never spoken English in front of a crowd. He said yes. He stood on that stage in 2007 and spoke 7 words that became famous all over the world. I tried and I made it. The entire room stood up. Thousands of people gave him a standing ovation. Some were crying because those 7 words said everything. Psychologists who study creativity and problem solving have found that constraints, meaning the limits you face, don't always make solutions harder to find. Sometimes they make solutions more creative. When a person is forced to work with very little, the brain engages in a different kind of thinking. Researchers call this constraint-based creativity. In other words, having less can sometimes make you build more. William Kamkwamba did not succeed because his life was easy. He succeeded because his life was hard, and he refused to let that hardness be the end of the story. He looked at a junkyard and asked, "What is hiding in here that has not been found yet?" Today, William has a university degree. He has built multiple windmills. He has helped bring clean water to his community. His book, The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind, has been turned into a film on Netflix. And his father's farm? It grows again. There is water now. There is light now. It all started with a boy, a book he could barely read, and a pile of junk that everyone else had thrown away. Here is your question for today. What problem in your life is actually hiding an invention? What difficulty around you is waiting to be turned into something that helps people? Write your answer in the comments below. I read every single one. If this story gave you something today, press subscribe. Thank you for watching.